You like guitars? I do. So today, we're gonna check out my first experience with a guitar body that I have loved ever since the first time I saw it. And that body is... the Ibanez Iceman. Let's do it! Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, after that intro, it will probably be your last time here at my channel. But if not, my name is Kyle. Welcome to Belligerent Studios. What I do is I take all sorts of awesome, high-gain related guitar equipment, record it with a simple setup, and I give you the unprocessed audio on your end. But instead of checking out my usual amps, preamp pedals, guitar cabs, and speakers, we're gonna touch on something, giggity, that I don't do a whole lot of, but definitely should do more of. Because in order to use all those things that I just listed, you need a guitar. And today we are checking out a guitar that probably is going to be a little bit polarizing as far as the shape and finish, but to me, the Ibanez Iceman is just a perfect combination of elegance and badassery. That's a real word. Look it up in the dictionary. No, wait, don't! So if you guys are unfamiliar with the Ibanez Iceman, this was originally a guitar that Ibanez released in 1977, and throughout the years, it's kind of gone through a couple of different periods of manufacturing. So if you look for an Ibanez Iceman on the used market, you'll find that there are a ton of different models, and sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out exactly what you're looking at without doing a whole bunch of digging. So that's why when I met with the people at Ibanez at 42 Gear Street in 2023, would you look at that, Henning, your stupid little get-together show-off fest actually served its purpose. The first thing that I said to them was, I need to get an Iceman. They were kind enough to send me the IC420 FM, and even though I've been straight edge for 20 years, I'm still down for a good 420 joke. So I have to send a huge thank you over to Ibanez for sending this guitar out for me to check out with you guys. And in full transparency, Ibanez sent me this guitar to keep, and my friends over at Sweetwater are sponsoring this video. So if you guys would like to pick up one of these beautiful, beautiful guitars for yourself, after the video's over, of course, head on down into the description in the comments of this video for my Sweetwater affiliate link, because if just one of you buys something using that link, I'll be rich beyond my wildest dreams. I grew up in a trailer park. I didn't have big dreams when I was young. But with that said, obviously, this is sponsored by both Ibanez and Sweetwater, so feel free to take everything that I have to say with a grain of salt. You are more than fair to do so, but just know I give you my honest thoughts and opinions, as I always do. And honestly, my first impressions of this guitar are very strong, but there are a couple of things that I do want to point out that I believe could be improved. So let's do a quick little spec rundown, and then we will actually plug this bad boy in, hit a couple chords, and flap some pants. So starting with the body of this guitar, this baby is Okume, which is probably the complete wrong pronouncement, but essentially it's a species of wood that's supposed to be pretty close to mahogany. So maybe just think of it as a mahogany guitar. And that goes for both the body and the neck. The neck is a 3-piece Okume neck. And as you can see on the back here, we have a multi-piece body. It looks like 3, maybe 4 pieces, which is what you are going to expect for a guitar that comes in at 750 bucks, which is pretty standard fare for a guitar that comes in at that $800 price point, like the Iceman. We need to get this tag out of here before I lose my damn mind. Oh, come on, get off! I hate you! But this guitar does look very, very good. And I was actually curious if this was like hand selected for having a really nice top. So I went onto Sweetwater's site and checked out their guitar gallery, and they have a bunch of these in stock right now, and they all look beautiful. So you've got a really good chance of getting something that looks amazing, just like this one. And thank God the guitar looks good, because I don't. Now, as far as the pickups and electronics on this guitar, we've got a 4-way, 2-volume, 2-tone control layout with the input jack being on the face of the guitar. We've got standard 3-way switch here. So this is almost like a Les Paul on a completely different body. If you're coming from a Les Paul, you'll feel comfortable. And as far as the pickups, these are Ibanez's Ibanez Super 80 humbuckers, which are apparently supposed to be a super hot PAF inspired pickup, but they have a ceramic magnet. So it's kind of an interesting combination of word vomit as far as describing the pickups. I've yet to plug this guitar in, so I actually don't even know how it's going to sound at this point. So we will definitely touch on that and compare it to something a little more standard so you guys can get an idea of what these pickups sound like. And they come with the gold covers with whatever the hell this is on the cover here. Ibanez has kind of always done this, like custom etchings and custom designs in their humbucker covers, and it's definitely something that sets them apart. For better or for worse, that is going to be up to you to decide. So rounding out the body specs here, we have a very, very nice cream, what looks to be a triple ply binding that really ties this thing together very nicely. And then on the back, we've got a nice tummy cut for those of us who are aging not so gracefully. One thing I do find interesting on the back of the guitar is this has kind of like a traditional Les Paul neck heel, and I definitely think that they could do something more modern, especially most of the people who are probably playing this guitar are going to be into slightly more modern shapes anyway, so I don't think that anybody's going to be angry if they put some sort of modern neck heel on this. I really actually do like the streaking of the multi-piece back. I think it gives it really cool look and character. It's a beautiful guitar. The frets are medium frets, and they are nickel silver. They're pretty big, honestly, which I'm a fan of. And as far as the fretboard material up here, we have a Jatoba fingerboard, which I don't actually believe that I have played a Jatoba fingerboarded guitar before, so this will be a first for me. As far as the inlays on the fretboard, we have what are described as acrylic and abalone inlays. So for the most part, they're basically just plastic inlays, and at the 12th fret here, we have just a little touch of abalone. I think they look okay. I'm not opposed to mother of toilet seat, especially at this price point. And the parallelogram shape definitely is a little bit more distinct. And because I'm ADD as all hell, I forgot to mention this is a 22 fret guitar, so it should have the standard humbucker spacing that we're used to on most other 22 fret guitars. As you can see, for the headstock, we have this big old bulbous blunt knife of a headstock, which I'm actually into. I think it looks cool. It definitely is distinct, and it looks like we have a Perloid Ibanez logo. But yeah, I think it just kind of fits the vibe and the style of the overall guitar pretty well. And last but not least, as far as specs, we've got the hardware up top. We've just got some generic Ibanez tuners. Can't really say yet how well these things are doing the job, but upon my initial tune-up, they actually felt pretty smooth. And then moving down to the body here, for the bridge and the tailpiece, we have a Gibraltar fixed bridge and a quick change 3 tailpiece, which have their own kind of distinctive features as far as tune-o-matic bridges and stuff go. And it looks like we have plenty of room as far as intonation on the bridge. And then last but absolutely most importantly, the knobs. I don't even know what to call these, but I love them. They've got like a nice rubber ribbed texture.
For your pleasure.
And they are real easy to grab onto or just to roll it off with the edge of your hand because the knobs are very grippy. And again, I think they fit the aesthetic of the guitar. I think they did a really, really good job tying this guitar together aesthetically, at least this finish. It immediately popped out at me. I really wanted a black Iceman, but as soon as I saw this thing, I'm like, let's do this because this thing looks absolutely gorgeous. So hopefully the camera is able to do it justice. But with all that said, it's time to plug this bad boy in to a fine selection of belligerent amplifiers
and see if it brings the tones.
Okay, let's go. Guys, so we are sitting here with the Ibanez Iceman IC420 FM, and I have a very carefully curated selection of amplifiers here sitting on top of this Mesa rectifier 212 with the stock vintage 30s in it. And those amplifiers are the Mesa Boogie Mark V, which is what you guys heard in the intro clip. We were going straight into this amplifier with no overdrives because you guys always cry when I use an overdrive. But don't worry, I'm gonna do it later. Underneath that, we've got the Mezza Barba Apocalypse, which we are primarily gonna use for our crunchy tones because this thing sounds amazing for that stuff. And then finally, a 6534 Plus, just to get back to the all-out brutality and belligerence. We're mixing things up a little bit today though, because on our gravity stands here, we have, in place of my normal SM57, an SE V7 microphone, because I absolutely love how these things sound on a bright V30. And sitting right next to that, we have an SE Electronics VR1 ribbon microphone. So you guys should be getting the full spectrum of frequencies that this guitar is producing, unless you're listening on an iPhone, which you probably are. No post-processing on anything you guys are hearing in this video. And just to remind you of what that intro tone sounded like. So yeah, guys, one thing that stands out to me about the pickups in this guitar right away, they have a very distinct single coil-ness to them. Like, they have a top end clarity and bite and twang to them that you just don't find in humbuckers. Like, it's been a while since I've plugged into a guitar that immediately made me turn my head and go, what is that? That is like completely different from a standard humbucker. And just to show you guys how different it sounds, I'm gonna play a Duncan Distortion back to back with this pickup. That way you guys can get an idea of the differences. All right, guys, so as you heard, there is a very noticeable difference in the top end on these two guitars, and the Duncan Distortion is pretty much as standard as it gets as far as high output ceramic pickups. So these things definitely have their own voicing going on. They very much have like a single coil twang, and that goes for the neck pickup too. You guys know me, I'm not some stupid loser idiot who normally plays leads, but just to show you how like single coily this neck pickup sounds, I'm going to attempt a lead, and if I wasn't trying to show you what this pickup sounded like, I would say cover your ears. I knocked it way out of tune at the end there. But yeah, as you can hear, it's got just a very distinct like upper mid and top end twang that you just don't hear in humbucker pickups very often. They've got a really distinct voice. So keep that in mind if you're looking to buy one of these guitars. You may love it or you may hate it, and you may have to end up switching out the humbuckers. I have a feeling they're not going to be for everybody. I personally just want to kind of keep them in this guitar because it's a totally different sound than any of my other guitars. So with that being said, let's dial in a slightly different high gain tone on the Mark, and then we'll hit the racist Uncle Rock tones on the Mezza Barba. Okay, so that was a little bit more of like a scoopy 80s thrash tone, obviously. A little bit more scooped out, but again, all I can notice is that really quacky, twangy high end. And again, I really like it. I don't know how it's gonna work in a mix or anything, but I like how distinct it sounds. It's really, really interesting. The nice thing about the pickup is even though it has that kind of twangy, like single coily thing going on, it's still very full in the bottom end and punchy. It's definitely got a lot of output. It's probably not quite as hot as the Duncan Distortion, but it's got some fire to that butthole. Let's move over to the Mezza Barba. So again, twang, That's all I can really focus on with the sound of this guitar. It's got a really interesting thing going on, man. It sounds really cool. It definitely, for my taste, it seems to actually work better for these more classically styled tones. Let's actually roll that gain back just a bit. So, in my opinion, it excels at the mid-gain racist Uncle Rock tones. I know some of you older guys hate it when I call them that. It's just a joke. Lighten up. But that's enough of that weak crap. Let's go ahead. Let's move on over to the 6534 Plus. Play a couple more of those really high gain riffs. But dude, I will honestly say I'm having a lot of fun playing this guitar. It is extremely well balanced. Although I will say it's more designed for while you're standing because it is kind of ever so slightly at an awkward angle on me while sitting, but it doesn't feel uncomfortable unless I'm putting like pressure on the guitar, pushing it against my body. You guys may have noticed that the guitar is not 100% fully in tune at certain points. The low E needs intonated on this thing for sure. I am playing this thing as it came out of the box. The strings are brand new. They sound good. And the guitar generally is staying in tune. It's just that low E. I can't quite hit the tuning on that low E. But of course, intonation, once you set the guitar up to your liking, intonation is part of that. Should take care of it right away. But just figured something that I would note. And real quick, I do want to test this thing standing up and see if we get neck dive. Okay, it's got a tad bit of neck dive. But honestly, as I'm playing the guitar, it doesn't feel like I need to hold it to keep it up. It is staying in place pretty well. If you have a leather strap with some grip on it, it'll probably stay in place even better. But just to know, if you're bouncing around without your hands on the guitar, this is what I normally do when I play live shows. I don't know about you guys. It does slowly work its way down. So a tad bit of neck dive, but again, that tummy cut, I was definitely right. It definitely really, really feels good when standing up. The guitar is very comfortable. God, I look like such a dumpy dad right now. All right, guys, so on the 6534, we went down to drop D with, again, still the stock string, stock setup on this Ibanez Iceman. And I will say on this amp, I am struggling a little bit to get the guitar dialed in because that top end single coiliness, along with this particular 6534 Plus being a little bit brighter than the other one that I have, is just kind of making it a little hard to balance that top end out. As far as like microphonics and feedback and stuff though, I'm not really noticing any issues, nothing more so than any other pickup. So that's nice. They are wax potted, even though they are a PAF inspired pickup with a ceramic magnet, which doesn't make any sense. But yeah, overall, man, I am really enjoying playing this guitar. The neck profile, which I definitely should have touched on earlier in the video, and I apologize, is it's not thin, but it's not chunky either. It's definitely no Ibanez Wizard, but it's not like a 58 baseball bat on a Les Paul either. If I had to liken it to something, it's probably really close to a thinner 59 profile on like a Gibson Les Paul. But again, a little bit thinner than that. It's not super chunky. I personally love it. It's right in the middle. Very, very comfortable. Fret ends, awesome. Not getting any sort of fret end scratchiness here or anything. The guitar doesn't have any dead frets up and down the neck. I tested all that out earlier. So fretwork on the guitar seems to be pretty good. It's not amazing because I can't get the action quite as low as I would like without getting too much fret buzz, but That could also be because the nut on this guitar was cut particularly low, which I am honestly okay with because most guitars out of the factory, the nut is cut too high and the strings are a mile off the fretboard. So I would rather them be a little bit on the low side than super high and not good sounding and bending them out of into. I can honestly say, even despite the pickups not necessarily working with the 6534 Plus all that well, the guitar is just a joy to play. I'm really loving playing this guitar. So let's do one more riff and then I'll give you my final thoughts on this thing. My wrist just decided to completely stop working there and lock up on me for a minute, so I think that's time to call it a day on this video. Guys, I really am loving the Iceman. I honestly, part of me really wants to keep these stock pickups in and just have it as a really unique sounding looking guitar in my arsenal, something that is totally different from what I already have. But the other part of me really wants to swap this pickup out for something that I know that I love, because I know with a pickup that was a little bit more to my personal liking, I would play this guitar constantly. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this guitar. What did you think about the tones I got? And is this a guitar that you want to put in a guitar case under your bed and never play it again? If it is, make sure to go down to the channel sponsor, Sweetwater, affiliate links down below in the description and the comments of this video, because that massively helps me out. It allows me to share more cool stuff like this here with you guys on the channel. And any one of you who does use that or any of my other affiliate links, I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully we can do some more cool stuff in the future because I really like this guitar. And I talked way too much today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time. I ran out of cable.
You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.